for a quick update on the kit. It looks like chaos here, but I kind of had this idea where I want to kind of go along with like the idea that, you know, maybe for this particular GM, he's kind of like a veteran, but he's basically just a mix and match of parts. I found this like cool like articulating arm that came off of a what is it, a gun, I believe, and I figured I could kind of use this and basically kind of create like a so I basically I stuck a peg in there to basically help it fit into this this arm here, and that way it'll just kind of clamp down. These parts will basically just clamp down onto, oop, that fell out. And the whole idea is to basically like do some really cool detail painting on the inside of the arm here, and just kind of like appeal more to like the fact that this is like really like, you know, he's been battered and beaten up, and he's just, you know, he's just made of spare parts at this point, and he's missing an antenna. He's usually supposed to have two, and he's missing one. I cut it off because he looked too much like a rabbit, but that's where I am so far. As far as the leg goes, I've basically modified the waist, and I think I showed you this before, but modified the waist so that it'll basically fit on top of the Easy 8 waist, and the hip for that. I'm gonna do some scribing on there and stuff. I'm still in the process of removing a lot of seam lines and stuff. I still gotta do that. That's a pretty big seam right there. Cement is dry, so I'm gonna sand that down today. And yeah, so there's just, you know, a few more bits and bobs here and there that I want to do, but I figured this is kind of like a, I don't know, it's just kind of an idea that I was just playing around with, and I actually really like it. So yeah, we'll just check back later after I get some work done on this, okay? Okay guys, another update right now. I just spent like 2 hours sharpening my chisels because they were chipped. But anyway, so what I wanted to do was essentially make this leg part look less boring. It's just all plain and white, and so my idea was I want to kind of do some panel etching so that I can do some separation of colors there in the middle. So my plan is to basically take some of this you know, Dymo tape, or, you know, etching tape or whatever. That is not straight. Hold on a second. So the plan is to basically stick this tape onto this part here, and basically etch in some nice little panel lines. And so my plan is to basically have the part that's underneath the tape be like a different color than like the rest of the rest of like this thigh part. You know, like this is the upper thigh, and so I'm trying to just get it centered on here. That looks okay-ish. So now I have that tape on here, and I am by no means a professional in any way, shape, or form, nor do I claim to be. So take whatever I say with a grain of salt, because there are people who are much better than me at scribing. But I'm just gonna document the process in which I do this. And so I don't have much of a chisel selection, to be completely honest. What I do have is this Hasegawa Tri-Tool TT-1, and this is basically for, I think you can probably get away with, you know, using something like, you know, like the end of a safety pin or something like that. But I like the fact that this has some weight to it. It's fairly heavy, and it's easier to hold on to with these big giant sausage fingers. So yeah. So I've got this this Dymo tape centered on here, and I'm just gonna basically draw a line going all the way around. And so one key point that I learned from my friend Songdong at Gunpla Lab is when you're scribing, you never want to try to get it all in one shot. When you're scribing, you want to just go really lightly, and then just kind of peck away at it little by little. And with that, you'll end up with much better results in terms of in terms of how your scribe is going to come out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this bottom line here, and then just these the sides and the bottom line, and then the top I'm going to do separately because I don't like how the line at the top is not very straight right now. So yeah, we'll get to that. So I'm gonna just move my light over here so y'all can see a little bit better. And it's really hard to do this at an angle so the camera can see and myself, but I'm just gonna hold this real tight here, and I'm just gonna lightly just kind of scrape away at it. So hopefully you guys can see. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. And I mean, in the end, if you mess up, you could always just throw some putty on there and start again. So nothing to be really scared of or anything. But I do admit it is kind of nerve-wracking because you're just like, oh man, this part. What if I mess it up? You know, things like that. But you're just gonna basically take it slow. I think I already made a mistake right there. But oh well. Anyway, move on to the next section. Then a little sanding can't fix. So really light scrapes multiple times. That's pretty much all this calls for. And hopefully we'll end up with some decent looking lines. Should I just do the top part? Yeah, what the hell, why not? So really light, and just scrape all the way across. Now you don't wanna push too hard, because if you push hard and try to scrape a lot more than you really want, then by pushing too hard you can actually lose control of your chisel. So yeah, just light strokes, and hopefully this is the effect that I am in fact looking for. So I'm gonna take this off so I can reuse this part, use this tape, and not too bad looking. Here, now y'all can see a little bit better. That's just all like dust and crap I just threw in there from my finger. Oh man, that's nasty. But yeah, there you have it. I'm probably just gonna clean it up a little bit and scrape it up, scrape in a little bit more, and yeah, because I already have the guidelines in there. So it'll be fairly easy to just kind of scrape along. Alright, so let's take this off real quick and see what we're working with. I'm going to save that piece so I can use that again later for the other leg. And alright, hold on. Let me throw some panel accent color in here real quick so y'all can see a little bit. There you have it. What is that? Okay. There you have it. A finished panel, and it's not bad. I'm just gonna, just kind of go over the lines a little bit and to dig them a little bit deeper in. But it's looking fairly good. once it's deep enough, I can just sand over it and kind of make the edges look a little bit nicer, but not too bad. So let me just clean this up and then we'll come back. I've gone ahead and finished up. Let me just sand this down a little bit, make it a little bit prettier. I've gone ahead and finished up paneling this part. So this is how it looked originally after that first square, and then I've just kind of added these horizontal lines to it to make it look like that. Let me throw some panel liner in there. I think this is kind of settled a little bit. That's what it looks like so far. I'm gonna basically just mask it off and paint the tops and the sides, and then the center a different color, and then everything else will just kind of be you know, just segmented and stuff like that. So it'll look a lot nicer once I finish once I mask it off and paint it. But that's pretty much what I got so far. Yeah, it's taken a lot of time. My hands are cramping up from holding these small parts, but I'm gonna go ahead and finish up this other leg, and then we'll move on to our next part of this build. So in the midst of trying to do this modification where I want the arm to look way better, in the sense of my concept of having this replacement arm, I've decided I'm going to go with the whatever's left of it, the Boo arm, which I seem to have dropped the third part. The upper arm for the Boo arm, then I'm going to combine that with the bottom forearm of the Gyan that I have here, which I've already taken apart. And basically what I want to do is, in order to make this part attach to the base of the shoulder there, I need to use this specific upper arm part that comes off of the Gyan. So basically what I need to do is what I'm trying to do is lop off this top attachment part so that I can just kind of use the existing peg so that it'll just fit in directly without having to do any other crazy modification. So this is so basically the upper part of this peg receiver is the part of the Boo, and then the bottom is obviously still part of the Boo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off this attachment part and basically cement it onto the attachment of the arm for the Gyan here. So I've already gone ahead and you know, sawed off this part here, and what I'm going to do is glue on this part onto the upper arm receiver right there. So excuse the really dark video. I'm currently in the middle of a live stream. Anyway, so anyway, yeah, I'm just gonna keep going, and so let me take out this part real quick here. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna lop this part off right here. So let me zoom in a little bit. I'm gonna try to save as much plastic as I can. So I'm gonna try to cut because basically what I need is this attachment piece right there. And so the way it's shaped is I've got this section right here that I can basically use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to just cut off right here so I can use as much plastic to cement onto the existing joint for the Gyan. So I left like a nice smooth surface so I can just kind of glue it on there. So hopefully I don't put it on backwards, but I'm going to go ahead and lop that part off. Excuse the hand because you probably can't see it because my hands are huge and I'm working with a freaking high grade Got that part off. I'm just gonna, there's like a middle part that like kind of pops out, so I'm just gonna remove that real quick. Smooth it out. Take off that part. Be careful, don't cut yourself. So that will be fun. Alright, that's it. Just sand that down. This is a 600 grit sanding stick. It's a good balance between 400 and 800, so it's abrasive if you push down hard, but if you kind of do it light, it'll turn some decent results. So anyway, so yeah, I got the arm joint right there, and I mean these are by no means like anything like, you know, modifications that are like, you know, really big or anything like that, but you start with small little modifications like this, and then you can build on top of your, you know, your skills and technique into you know, into carrying over into other projects and builds. So I've got the elbow joint from the gun here and the arm attachment part here. So basically what it'll do is this top part from the bugu will plug into the shoulder, and then this bottom part will plug into the elbow, and then have the gun arm come up from there. So excuse me if my hands are really big and you can't see the parts very well, but that's basically the gist of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and cement these parts together, and then we'll take it up from there. Okay, so here I've got the top part of the bugu arm joint, and I mean it's fairly simple. You're just gonna mix these two parts and stick them together. So I'm gonna throw some cement on there. Alright, and that's okay. So that's pretty much it. So hopefully that plastic will melt and fuse with itself, and that'll pretty much be it. So I'm just gonna apply some pressure and let the plastic kind of do the cement do its thing. Hopefully that'll cure nice and hard. Okay, so I ran into a little bump in the road, which is this foot. You can see that ridiculous seam line right there. The problem is, to get this part on, it's actually two different pieces that clamp onto this side, little peg here. So I can't very well just go and remove the seam and then just expect it to expand and, you know, remove the seam and have it glued together and then expect it to expand and pop onto there. So my idea is to remove this circular joint and make it completely separate from this part. And so I was kind of fooling around with the art knife, and I've got here two broken pieces that came apart. And my idea is to basically remove it from this peg. So this circular part, remove the, you know, the shoe cover part, and then basically just have it so that it'll basically be one continuous part on this side. That way when I put the part on, it'll just be just this one part that'll be on there, and then there's already an existing gap in between here, so that way I can just kind of remove the seam and have it look pretty clean, and just put that on like a little button right there, like so. So I'll just go ahead and clean that up, and hopefully I can remove the seam without any problems. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm basically just going to carve out the outside along the circle joint, I guess you can say. I'm just going to basically keep carving at it, like kind of using the back of not the blade side, but like the point of it backwards, kind of like almost like a panel liner. And I'm just gonna take enough of the plastic out to the point where it should be weak enough that it'll just kind of bend and release itself from this part here. So hopefully that'll work. Maybe not yet. I'm gonna cut into it from the back a little bit. And that way I can kind of remove some plastic from both sides. Hopefully I can keep this all in one piece. Now the point is to basically remove enough plastic that it'll just kind of be really thin, and then it'll just weaken. So you're trying to weaken the integrity of the plastic that's holding this here. So and eventually it will weaken and become brittle, and hopefully it'll hold its shape. So I'm just gonna keep bending and pulling apart at the same time, and there we have it. Two separate pieces. So all I gotta do is basically clean this up and then attach the other side. So I'll do that here real quick. Okay, we are good to go. Alright, now all I'm going to do is just apply some cement, and gonna get this part attached. So I'll just throw some of this on there, apply a good amount, and then right in the middle, where the one peg on the other side, if you can see here, the peg right there will go straight into right there in the middle. So I'll just go ahead and squish those two parts together. Might have to add some cement to the other side. Yeah, so you're basically melting the plastic and then letting it cure and harden. So you're essentially fusing it. So I think that's okay. That looks okay to me. So we'll just go ahead and set that down, and then we'll come back to that later and sand it, and hopefully it'll attach. But I think this idea should work nicely. I'm hoping to God it does. So otherwise I'm kind of screwed. Okay, so it's the next day, and I've already gone ahead and let the shoe cover, I guess, foot cover thing, cure and stuff, and I've already sanded it down. So pretty much what we've got is, again, before, remember that this piece was actually attached to that part, and then there was a break right there. But I've gone ahead and removed the seam, and basically made it so that we have just this separate from that. And so I think we have here a successful modification to clean it up real quick. So I'm going to put that cap on there, and then on the other side just kind of slip this foot on there, and there we have it. We have a functioning rolly uppy downy shoe with absolutely no seam line right there. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way that came out, and yeah, we're just gonna keep going on with the other foot, and that's about it for this foot. So yeah. Alright guys, that's the end of this work in progress, I think. I'm just gonna get around to painting, but let me just show you just a little bit of what I've gone over up till now. And so, just I guess a quick recap. I've done some scribing on this upper thigh, which I want to separate into different colors. I've gone ahead and dug out some, little squares here and there. This particular build was a lot of fun and really interesting for me in terms of scribing, because I'd never really done any big or major scribing before. But yeah, it was pretty fun just coming up with like different ideas on where I want to put lines and how I want to design them. But yeah, pretty much done. It's a high grade, so there's not too many kits, but yeah. So I scribed that side leg part as well as the upper thigh. I've already done the modification to fill in that seam on the foot, and a couple other bits and bobs here. Yeah, I mean, some scribing done as well on the one good arm, I suppose. So yeah, not too shabby, I suppose. But yeah, they're gonna get primed and painted relatively soon. Alright, so as previously mentioned, I wanted to use some of these new paints that I got called IPP. So the three colors that I'm going to use from the IPP line are going to be Racing White, Light Ghost Gray, and Dark Ghost Gray. So both of the grays are going to be used for just a variant on a single color, so I can have some good color separation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prep these bottles for putting the paint inside, and pretty much try to get some paint prep so that I can use that for future projects like I have up here. So anyway, I'm washing the bottle out with thinner so that none of the raw paint will stick to the sides or the walls or anything like that. And I'm just gonna I feel like I haven't mixed paint in forever. It's crazy. Getting filled with, just start with the Racing White. Mix up the paint first, and then get all the paint in there. I've noticed that the IPP paints are a little bit on the, what's the word, not so thick side compared to like Mr. Hobby paints. So I'm gonna go just a slight tad. I mean, with Mr. Hobbies, I typically like the consistency of it, like on average is typically like a 1 to 1.2, 1.5 ratio. But with IPP, I'm probably gonna stay closer to like a 1-to-1 ratio or something like that. Just pour it all up in there. I like to save these bottles just so I can use them for other projects. So Don't take those away. They'll come in handy later. Alright, I'm gonna label these. Looks a little thin. Alright, that's it. I'm just gonna rinse and repeat for the next colors. That's about it for this one. I think the next video might be a reveal, so yeah, stay tuned for that, and we'll catch you guys later. Bye!